So we've been getting additional crumbs of information about the characters in Xenoblade 3 throughout the past few days on Twitter, and because no one is better at milking content and talking about the most minor amount of information for 20 minutes than Xeno fans, I'm going to make another video discussing all of this new information on the characters, some new potential symbolism, and perhaps some new theories related to this. As you might expect, there will likely be some spoilers for previous Xenoblade games, and discussion of character archetypes that Takahashi likes to use, so keep that in mind. And if you are looking for the #1 destination for all Xenoblade 3 related content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I am really close to 50k and I would love to hit that very soon. With that done, let's get into it. So let's start off with the main character, Noah. There is a lot of really interesting stuff here, but first things first, I am going to be using the translations of the information on the Xenoblade EN fan account, or translations from my friend Momoka, so credit to them for providing this to me. The Nintendo accounts are posting some of this info in English, but not all of it is there for some reason, so I'd rather use a source with all of the information. Our general description of Noah tells us he is 18 years old, the same age as Faye and Shulk as far as previous protagonists, and despite being slim, he has impressive physical power. Well, they have to justify him being able to swing a sword around somehow. This final sentence, they say his appearance and stance are like that of an awesome samurai. You have to wonder if they're in on the joke of him being a mix of a ton of different JRPG protagonists, and come on, samurai? Really? Samurai when he already has the Flynn ponytail? We learn he is a Kevis departurer, which I assume is another word for officer, who sends off soldiers that have died on the battlefield. The word send-off seems particularly important as it could send credence to the theories of calming the souls or consciousness of the deceased and to encourage integrations with the collective unconscious and not have the universe be destroyed. If you're wondering about that theory, check out my last video because it gets really crazy. He has apparently experienced and lived through the death of many of his friends, which makes him question the entire point of the war, and this is also really depressing to think about, honestly. And that's a sentiment we hear him echo within the trailer. Perhaps this need for an answer and desire to stop the war is one of the catalysts to team up with people from Agnes as a third party. As I've said in the past, Noah's name is most likely a biblical reference to the story of Noah, and some new information may indeed confirm this to be the case. I don't know where this image originated from, so credit to whoever made it, as a friend brought it to my attention, but it appears that the color schemes for the characters and lighting gradient near their feet in the official art aligns with the colors of a rainbow. Mio is the hardest to see here, but the ribbons and lighting show off a bit of purple. The rainbow is very symbolic in the story of Noah, because after God flooded the earth and wiped out most of humanity that was deemed wicked, God promised Noah that he would never flood or destroy the earth again, and the rainbow was created as a symbol of that promise. We also happen to see a rainbow at one point during the trailer as well. This has interesting implications about the role of some god in this game potentially, and more implications for Noah himself being humanity's savior and stopping this war and possibly even saving the universe. Or this could just be one elaborate Ryan joke, who knows. Regardless, it's definitely something interesting to consider and make some of my theories that might seem way out there just a little bit more valid. The next character we learn about is Mio. Mio is an Agnes soldier who uses twin rings. So a cat girl with what looks like a flesh-eater core crystal on her chest using twin rings, that certainly sounds just a little bit familiar, and it feels like they are very strongly hinting at a possible relationship to Nia here. This is interesting as Nia is a flesh-eater blade, and there was no indication she'd ever have the ability to have children or family in some way, but given that this info also tells us that Mio is 19, it suggests blades and flesh-eaters may work differently in this new world, as Mio seems functional on her own despite having what looks to be a core crystal. More on that later. Some people think she could be Nia's sister or some Blade Nia awakened, which could also be the case. Or maybe she's not related to Nia at all and it's a massive coincidence. It says she is good at evading attacks, so perhaps we have our new funny agility tank in this game that dodges everything, or perhaps she's like half DPS, half dodge tank. Regardless, I'm sure she will have a fun playstyle. They also make note of her ears being distinct, but I think everyone could probably see that pretty clearly. She is also an officer, as we have learned, and seems to have a serious yet gentle personality, and while she draws hope from others, she seems to have her own worries, problems, struggles, and the like. Our main pair seems to bear a lot of similarities in the personality department to Faye and Ellie, just based on what we might be able to glean, which could make a lot of sense in the context of this game. It is also very much worth noting the characters were revealed 2 at a time, with each pair being of the opposite sex and a different country. I don't know whether this is intentional or not, maybe giving some indication of the battle system since the Ouroboros on their weapons may only be formed after unifying with someone from the other country, and we could get something similar to Torna pair-ups. Or this is just a massive coincidence, but reading into things is just what I do sometimes. We then get a general statement about that talk about fighting to live and living to fight again, and how no one knows when their friends or comrades may lose their lives. A pretty sad state of affairs indeed. The sound of the flute is called sacred here, which I think is definitely something that could indicate it's more than just music at this point, and likely has a hidden purpose that will be very important to the story. Next up, they posted about Lons, a Kevis soldier like Noah. He is also 18 apparently, despite looking way older and giving off Machina vibes, so that's definitely something interesting and could suggest a lot about aging in this world, but we'll save that discussion for later. They kinda gave this guy like a generic Ryan description here, the dependable ally thing who fights for his friends, but we do confirm that his weapon is indeed a sword that can double as a shield, which is definitely really cool. The second post tells us they've been together since they were children, and he will protect his friends even at the cost of his life. Already with those early death flags, I see. His reckless actions are worrying. If there was any character or character archetypes I could compare him to, he definitely seems really close to Ryan and maybe a bit of Junior in there with the reckless actions. It'll be interesting to see. Not too much more to say about him based on the kind of limited information we were given here. And now here's something really interesting. Senna was the next character described, and looking at her, she looks like a blade 100%. Core crystal, ether lines, for all intents and purposes from what we know so far and from previous games, she is a blade. And yet the description here says that she is 18 years old also. This suggests a lot about the new world and maybe blades being modified to reproduce or live similarly to humans. In Xenoblade 2, Klaus did create blades as a new form of humanity, and they do have nearly the same DNA, so perhaps some kind of seal on their immortality and reproduction features were removed, so they can live just as normal humans do. I cannot think of any other explanation for her being 18 years old, other than that, based on what we currently know, or that she's just lying like some previous protagonists have done about their age in the series. And I think Mio may be somewhat similar in how she was created as well. Senna uses a massive hammer because a small girl with large weapon is always an awesome design characteristic. The description doesn't even seem to be hiding she has origins as a blade since it mentions her blue hair glowing, so I would assume it's definitely something like that here. Even more reason to believe she is a blade is how she can carry a huge weapon and use it with seemingly no issues according to this. She has been with Mio for a while, who she views and loves as an older sister. This gives some credence that they actually did grow up together and weren't just born in their current states, and she enjoys muscle training, not that you'd be able to tell since I don't really see any muscles on her entire body. Cheerful and energetic makes a lot of sense for this type of character, but she is also shy and lacks confidence in herself, so we'll likely get a cute character arc where she learns to be more confident. I'm getting the Momo or Poppy vibes from the general description here, so it'll be interesting to see what gets done with her. And then after an agonizing delay, we finally got more information on Yuni. Take a wild guess as to what her age is, and if you guessed 18, you would be correct, making 4 members of our party 18 so far, and yet another character who shouldn't be 18 based on their race. And while I'm sure she's a very diluted high inti at this point, it is still very strange. She is the childhood friend of Noah and Lons, expected from being from Kevis, and she excels at healing. Not a great sign, unfortunately, but hopefully she'll take the Crossette path and be really fun and strong despite being a healer. Please, Monolith, design a good healer one time for me. The wings on her head seem familiar. Well, duh, she has high anti blood, obviously. Alright, so now the fun post that gets me really excited. I had my friend Momo translate this for me since she is fluent in Japanese, and she says the description here was that she is very frank as a person who seems to have a bad mouth because of her brutal honesty. Out of all of the members, she is the most ill-mannered, but is the most educated/learned. She respects Noah deeply, and she has a good relationship with Lons, who she seems to be able to speak her mind freely with. She has the utmost and strongest feeling of responsibility towards her comrades. So basically, Eunie is the smartest character and also the character with the worst attitude. Now, if you know anything about me, you know my favorite Xeno character is Shion Uzuki, and based on the things we know about Eunie so far, she definitely might be very, very close to that. I bet she is going to be an awesome character. Or maybe I'm just on too much hopium. Regardless, this blurb tells us she has responsibility to her friends as well and speaks her mind freely. This could lead to a lot of great interactions, and hopefully we get a lot of funny moments and curse word replacements from her, like seen in the trailer. The wings on her head look black in a few shots of her, and I'm not entirely convinced it's the lighting thing since the hair was affected much less, so it's possible her wings actually do change color, and if I'm being honest, I prefer the darker hair color and black wings. I think it looks sick, so I really hope this is real. Still 100% my favorite character so far, really looking forward to learning even more about her. And finally, we have Taiyan, another character I was really interested in based on the trailer and who also has a really sick design. So take a wild guess as to what his age is. If you said 18 also, you are correct. This makes 5 of our 6 party members 18, with only Mio being 19. I'll discuss that in just a bit, though. So Taiyan uses a mysterious paper-like weapon known as a katashiro, which he likes and apparently calls Mondo. This is extremely vague and tells us basically nothing about how it works, so basically he's just really talented. He is a skilled tactician who supports his allies, and they bring attention to his glasses and scarf. Once again, he might legitimately be HB3 at the original and Akos. Will he ever stop excelling? Mio and Senna seem to trust his judgment, so he's probably not nearly as arrogant as HB, but he does appear to have a cheeky personality. He also gets annoyed easily when he doesn't understand something, or something doesn't go his way. I like this personality description a lot, and think he's going to be an extremely entertaining character. I also like that he was paired up with Yuni because I think their interactions are also going to be hilarious. I am super interested to see more about what he's about as well, and I suppose all of the characters thus far. So let's talk about ages now. So for one, the fact that everyone is 18 is a bit whack art style wise, since some of these characters look older than Laura, who was 27, so I guess that's just a Saito moment. Anime art styles are always strange like this. We can speculate a lot about why they're all around this age at the very least, and outside of the game lore, likely to have it more relatable to teenagers, even if they're probably going to act much older than 18-year-olds. But it does get a lot more interesting when thinking about in-game reasons. We have 3 characters here, potentially even 4 with Mio, who absolutely should not look 18 based on previous games. Blade should be immortal, and High Entia and Machina have much longer lifespans and should look way younger at 18 than we see here. This has a lot of interesting implications because of all the talk about clocks and time. It's possible there's something in this world that accelerates aging of these races to put them on the same level, and possible the clocks that keep getting mentioned has something to do with this as well, such as only allowing a limited amount of time to live as discussed before, unless of course you fight in the war and get some kind of extension by filling it or something. There's a chance there may need to be a high turnover on death to make sure the collective unconscious has enough to keep the universe from being destroyed, if my previous theory is to be believed, and that could also suggest even characters that should be alive from previous games could actually end up being dead because of the new world or situation they're in. It should be interesting to see how everything develops related to the themes of life and about the whole fighting to live and living to fight thing. It seems that there's going to end up being something that is extremely important. It does also raise the question about potential other party members because it could break the rainbow theme and similar age as everyone is, but I just have doubts that we'd only be limited to 6 characters total, and feel like this is just going to be our primarily main cast for a while, and we may get a couple surprises later on. If there's anything else to discuss about characters, I guess you could mention design controversy, which still seems to be going on for some reason, but that just delves into the sphere of drama, which is not what I want my channel to be about. They all look really good, by the way. I think my next video is based on responses to the community post, maybe a recap of events in Xenoblade 1 and 2 to catch people up to speed, and I will try to include everything important and all details that might be relevant to Xenoblade 3, so please look forward to that. If we continue to get new information, and I think there's enough to make a video on, I'll be sure to do that as well, so be sure to stay tuned. I think that covers it for me, so if you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a wonderful and blessed day.